Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Fernandez. Welcome back to Well Talk. I'm super excited for this next episode. This episode is important because I believe it's going to help you just be able to take care of yourself and sustain. And I think that's one of the things that so many people are struggling with today. They're struggling with being able to sustain. Like, it's one thing to be able to do something for a couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but focusing in and locking in and really taking care of yourself for longer than that is becoming a big issue for a lot of people. And one of the things that I think people are struggling with is they're taking on too much. Nowadays, there's so much that we can be involved in, and there's so many different things that we can be watching or we can be listening to. Like, have you ever sat down and just like been listening to something and then you also are watching something, but then you're also playing a game, or you're also on your laptop or you're on your iPad at the same time, and you're just kind of like multitasking so much and your brain is literally just all over the place? Yeah, that's that's us right now in this society that we live in. Unfortunately, I think our brains are being overloaded with too much information, and we're also doing these things simultaneously while we are trying to engage and interact with people. At the same time, we're then taking on other responsibilities that are stretching us way too thin. So if this sounds like you in some way, this episode is for you. But I also want to highlight here as well, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. If you have too much going on, it's okay to say, I can't take that on right now. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to come back to an opportunity later, or you won't be able to start up something later on. It just means that right now you're being stretched too thin, and you need to focus in on the things that you are already responsible for. That gives us the sustainability to focus in longer, because we're not multitasking in 50 different areas, only giving 5% of our attention to just, oh, here's this, and oh, here's that, and oh wait, but I forgot, right? There's a process here in balancing. And so a lot of people say, you should never say no to an opportunity, or you should well, I'm not telling you to turn down all the opportunities that present themselves. I am telling you to evaluate, step back and think, is this going to help me, or is this going to hurt me in the long run? Some of us, we just say, well, I'm one of those people that I just push through, I persevere, and I'm resilient, right? And that's great. To what extent, and what is the cost? Are you sacrificing performance because you are stretching yourself too far to the point where you are now in low power mode because you have not utilized any sort of recharge or any sort of self-care, and you still continue to say yes to everything, and you have not set boundaries for yourself? That's not healthy. That leads to burnout. That leads to overload. That leads to your brain being on low power mode. And when your device goes on to low power mode, what happens? Everything slows down, and everything else does not function the way that it should, as opposed to if it was charged to at least 50% or fully charged. And you also start to notice that when you see there's the orange there, I think I'm getting kind of burned out and tired here. I might need to say no to this specific responsibility or task and take this time to help myself as well, because I am on the brink of burning out. And you might be thinking to yourself right now, it's all about hard work. Well, I get that. And grit and grind. I get that. And there's many generations that focus in on that and pride themselves on that. However, take this into consideration here. I was at a conference recently where a professional sociologist as well as professional podcaster, just writer, author, the guy just did so many different things well. He was talking about the brain and how it's so much different for us now than it was even 50 years ago. And we're not even talking about like 100, 150, 200. We're talking about 50 years ago, even a decade, 2 decades ago, right? Smartphones didn't become really big until almost around 2009, 10. The first iPhone came out, I think. We're on iPhone 17. So yeah, think about this. He said the average person has about 74 gigs of data that they process throughout the day. I'm going to say that again to you. The average person and their brain processes about 74 gigs of data per day. 74 gigs of data per day. Your brain has access to so much information and so many different resources, which can be helpful. But if you have 7 different devices giving you 7 different things at once, what good does that do for your brain? Absolutely nothing. It just burns it out. So when we are talking about, well, this day is just a day where everybody is too sensitive and people need brain breaks. And what is a brain break? Hey, you know what? We're living in a different time where our brains are being overloaded and we need to slow down. We need to focus in on how we can help ourselves and give ourselves moments to have a break, to have a recharge, and also say, if I need to say no, I need to say no. Because if you are not taking care of yourself, how are you going to be able to take care of others? I was meeting with a client the other day that was telling me that they just cannot say no. They can't say no. They were saying, if somebody needs support, no matter what, they have to help. If somebody needs them to hold on to something for them, like this heavy burden that is like a task of just nobody else knows about it but them, and they're the ones that are responsible to take care of this person, they cannot set a boundary for themselves. If you cannot set a boundary and you cannot tell somebody, hey, right now, I want to be here. I want to help. And at this time, it's not the best time for me, but I also have a resource, and this is where you can refer and help people to get more support from a different source as well, or a responsibility that you have. Maybe you need to say, is there a way to rethink this and restructure this? And sometimes saying no leads to a loss. But one loss does not define the rest of your career. It is about being able to set the boundary and say, hey, if I have to say no here and this makes a big impact on whatever relationship it is or the people-pleasing aspect of things, we can't please everybody. Unfortunately, we can't. And if you think that you can, I'm here to tell you today, you can't. Unfortunately, there will be times where people, even when you do the exact thing that they asked, will still not be pleased. So if you do that, will you still allow them not being pleased, even if you did the exact thing that they said they needed? Will you still allow that to have a negative impact on you, or will you be able to release it and let it go? These are things that are important for us to reflect on. And these are things for us that are important for us to really take an evaluation and think, what is it that I'm doing that is just tearing me apart and I need to take a break from? Now, this is a hard question to ask yourself, but I want to leave you all with this for this episode. What is it that I am involved in? Is it a relationship? Is it an extra job? Is it something else that is just pulling me and just taking a toll on me? What is it that is causing more harm than help? If that is something that you can identify, I want you to write it down and I want you to think, is this being more helpful or harmful to my mental and physical health? As you do that, take some time to think about ways that you could maybe pivot or make an adjustment in order to either say, I can't do this anymore, or I need to take a break from whatever this is and focus in on helping myself. Remember, if you're in those points where you are multitasking to the max, you're stretching your brain too far and you're not going to be able to have impactful and meaningful relationships because your time is taken away by everything else because you're involved in too much. There has to be a balance and a line that's drawn for a boundary that you establish for yourself to say, no, I can't do that right now. Or no, I need to take a break. Is it rude to say no? No, it's not. I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning into this episode. And again, we're going to go back into mental health in the church as well with a special guest speaker that's I think is going to be great in just helping understand more about that, as well as continuing to talk about sustainability and burnout prevention. So I hope you got a lot out of this episode. Please continue to like, share, subscribe, and comment. I appreciate you all so much. I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Well Talk.